finally. 4, 3, 2, 1.
I wish I could say something that was classy and inspirational, but that just wouldn't be our style.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
SportsTownChicago.com. Lombard, part of the P On Air Network and available on the TuneIn app.
Hell yeah.
Broadcast home for your Windy City Bulls and the Chicago Dogs. We're in a league of our own. Now, here's your SportsTownChicago.com scoreboard update.
I'm Tyler Ferengul with your Sportstown Chicago update. What a dominant day it was for the White Sox as they destroyed the Tigers 13-0 on the road at Comerica Park. A 5-hit and RBI game by Yoan Moncada powered the Southsiders to their third win in a row in a series sweep in Detroit. Every single player who started in the batting lineup got at least one hit today for the Sox, with 6 getting multiple hits. Vince Velasquez, Davis Martin, and Jose Ruiz held the fort and combined gave up 4 hits on the mound. The Sox carry some massive momentum to Houston, where they start a weekend series against the Astros. Lucas Giolito is scheduled to start against Framber Valdez in the series opener on Friday. It has been a dismal week and a half for the Cubs, who dropped their 8th game in a row last night to the Padres. They'll be back at it for the third of 4 games tonight at Wrigley Field, looking to snap their skid. The Cubs will put Caleb Killian on the mound for his second career start as the Padres give southpaw Ryan Weathers the nod. The Northsiders look to get out of their massive funk and finally win, where the opening pitch starts at 7:05 on Marquee Sports Network. Steelers and safety Minkah Fitzpatrick have agreed to a 4-year deal that pays him more than $18.4 million a year, ESPN's Adam Schefter confirmed Wednesday. The new deal will make Fitzpatrick the highest paid NFL safety, who also gets $36 million guaranteed at signing. It's the first big move for new Steelers GM Omar Khan, who took over after Kevin Colbert retired after this year's draft after 20 years. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals takes place tonight as the Colorado Avalanche host the Tampa Bay Lightning. A quest for 3 in a row is within reach for the Lightning, where the Avalanche are making their first Stanley Cup Finals appearance in 21 years. A big story early is the return of Lightning center Braden Point, who has not played since the team's opening round elimination game against the Maple Leafs on May 14th. It's a huge get for the Lightning, where the Avalanche are the highest scoring team in this year's playoffs. Who will get on the board early? Opening faceoff starts at 7 o'clock on ABC or ESPN+. This has been your Sportstown Chicago update. I'm Tyler Ferengul.
He just saw it fly. He puts it up. It's good.
The winner circle.
We're here to talk about all things sports.
Here with Tyler
and TC.
Oh, my goodness.
Welcome into another episode of the Winner Circle. As always, I'm your host, Tyler Ferengul, and I'm alongside my co-host, Tyler Clausen, aka TC. How are you today on another Wednesday here at Illinois Media School, TC?
Oh, I'm a little tired. I was up all night last night. I got my second opportunity to work a full-time shift for WSRB as a board operator. That was pretty awesome, and I know, I sound so excited, but that's 2 days of working 7 to 12 and then having another job. So I'm trying to hang in there, trying to get electrified really quick.
Well, look at you getting in the reps. That is awesome to hear. Experience is key. Reps are key. And thank you guys again so much listening for wherever you tune in for our show, whether that is on SportsTownChicago.com or the TuneIn Radio app, or whether you watch on our YouTube, among other social media platforms as well. Thank you guys so much for the support. We have another loaded show today for you guys. We're going to talk all things White Sox baseball, and what they did today could be a special sign for later in the month of June. We also have the NBA Finals that take place tomorrow, Game 6. Could we go to Game 7, or will the series end? And then we have another interesting segment later in the show where we'll talk about something that has not happened in 10 years in that respective sport. We'll get more to that later. But first, let me start off the show by saying, even though, guys, it is 90 degrees outside, and it's been 90 degrees basically the entire week, I'm ready to go into hibernation. You want to know why? I want to be in hibernation because I cannot stand to watch the Chicago Cubs play baseball right now. And as a matter of fact, they should join me because it is absolutely pathetic the way they're playing baseball lately. Like I said, I don't even care how warm it is. I feel embarrassed, and I want to go, dig a nice hole in the ground and just live, because it sucks watching the Cubs play baseball.
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of embarrassing. At first, I was like, okay, they're playing the Yankees, one of the hottest teams in baseball. Surely we could all understand how a rebuilding, even though they're not really rebuilding, although they're really rebuilding, team is going up against a team that's ready to win right now. And then you look at these last few games and you're like, okay, come on, when is this going to end? And it keeps getting worse and worse. So honestly, it's kind of rough watching it as a Chicago sports fan. But I think the thing that stung me the most was Kyle Hendricks had a terrible outing the last time he was on the mound, and he comes in.
You're not talking about yesterday, correct?
Not yesterday.
Okay.
The previous time he was on the mound. He had a terrible outing, and he comes into this game, throws 5 good innings, bullpen ruins it. Chicago, gets a good amount of runs to their credit, but bullpen just not able to get it done. Ends up spoiling the game for Hendricks, who gets a no decision.
Yeah, it's a shame because Hendricks has been off to a rough start this year, being the undisputed number 1 pitcher for this team, but it has just been abysmal to watch the Cubs play baseball. Like, their last win came on June 4th, the first game of a doubleheader weekend against the Cardinals. They took game 1. I believe it was Matt Swarmer who started that game. Last time Matt Swarmer was out, he gave up he was the 10th pitcher to give up 6 solo home runs in a single game against the Yankees. And that's the point that TC, I thought, was pretty spot on with this. Yeah, regardless, the Yankees are the best team in baseball right now. They're destroying everyone, but it's one thing to get swept. But after that 13-inning loss on, I believe it was Friday, game 1. I'm not sure what day it was, but the next 2 games, 8-0 and 18-4 were the results. Like, they got massively destroyed in both of those games. They got outscored a combined 27-5 in that series. 28-5, I should say. It's just been terrible to watch. And then last night, Wilson Contreras, the only bright spot on this Cubs team so far, having one of the best seasons of his career batting-wise. 2 home runs last night. Another big double early. They're up 5-0. TC hits it right on the head with Kyle Hendricks pitching well. Mind you, also, the last time we saw Kyle Hendricks face the Padres, he went 8 2/3 innings, gave up 3 hits, was 1 out away from a complete game before getting pulled. He's had the Padres number this year, but apparently it wasn't enough for him to get pulled for David Ross. And then the bullpen just let the floodgates loose, and it was just gone from there. 5-run lead turned into a 5-run lead for the Padres in 2 innings. Terrible baseball to watch.
Yeah, it's honestly heartbreaking, and it's just one of those things that when you look at this team, you really do question why some of these decisions were made. Are they possibly trying to reserve Hendricks, trying to not have him throw a ton in a season that doesn't truly matter compared to, the previous few seasons? And going forward with that, are they trying to wait for all those pieces to fall into place for him to go back to throwing those 8 2/3 innings games? Or is just this kind of the new norm for pitching where, a lot of players seem to not really go into these deep games as often if they ever do? I mean, the only times it really seems it ever happens is if the bullpen had to be used a lot one game and then the starting pitcher just so happens to be dealing, not just pitching well, but, having a low pitch count. So not necessarily a bunch of strikeouts, but, just getting routine plays and, being able to pitch good like that. So I think that might be part of it. But honestly, it's, what do you think it is? Do you think it's that, or do you think it's more we got to wait to use Hendricks more when it matters?
I don't know really what is. I just feel like everybody's kind of forced to kind of use their hand with the bullpen early. Like, it's becoming such a trend. Like, we both remember, 5-10 years ago, totally routine. If a guy doesn't go at least 6 innings, what happened? Did he get hurt? Did he give up a ton of runs? Now it's like, wow, if a guy goes past 6 innings, we're looking back and saying, that's surprising. It's just, I feel like it's not, it's not that really like, you're forced to use him later in the year. I just feel like there's just been some sort of change with the game
not
overall.
Necessarily like the end of the year, but like next season or the following season.
If that's the case, and that's stupid because you have a team that is built to win now and for later, but your only focus should be right now. One game at a time. It's a long season. You got to take every game for what it's worth. And I look at what Hendricks did last night. 6 strikeouts through 5 innings. Not bad. And this is, mind you, this is in the 6th inning. He got pulled too because he didn't give up an out. He gave up a leadoff double, and David Ross pulled the plug. Was only at 78 pitches. So I think there was a really good chance that he could have gone at least maybe another inning or two. I'm not saying it's totally not going to happen that the Padres do score that run because the opening double in that inning was the one run he was responsible for since he left him on base. But there's no guarantees, and you make that decision like that to turn your bullpen after one hit. It's like, do you have any trust in him? Like, among all the other pitchers on this team, I don't trust Stroman. I don't trust Smiley. I don't trust Miley. Keegan Thompson's been off lately. Well, who are you going to trust? Hendricks has been the one guy that's, he hasn't performed great, but he's steady. He's consistent.
Exactly, especially pitch count-wise. Like, I feel as long as your pitcher is in that 90 to 100 pitch range when they finish their outing, they're good.
It's a magic number.
Once you start getting into those 110, 120s, then, obviously he kind of threw a little too much.
Yeah, you're pushing it a little bit.
But as long as he's dealing, keeping that pitch count low, 6, 7 innings, 90, 100 pitches maybe. But, once you hit 105, I mean, even then, I'm like, maybe he should have pulled him at like 97.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times, we're seeing guys, it's very rare to see them average less than, like 10 an inning. That right there, you're looking at through 5 innings, leadoff double in the 6th, about 13 pitches, something 13 to 15, I'd say, which is about a good magic number. Like if you're still in the game 8 innings in, you're probably going to be at least 104, 110 pitches. That's right around the range right there. But if you're like not even at 90 or maybe just hitting 90 and you're in that sweet spot that you're talking about, absolutely leave him in if he's dealing. But we saw earlier in the year with Clayton Kershaw had a no-hitter going, but Dave Roberts pulled him, and he himself said it was time. It was just my arm wasn't ready. So I guess it really just depends on these like certain type of situations. But overall, these Cubs have been not playing very good lately whatsoever, and it's going to get worse for the Cubs because coming up after this Padres series, they're playing a team that has won 13 games in a row against the Atlanta Braves. So my question to you guys is, will the Cubs break their losing streak against the Atlanta Braves? Will the Cubs snap their losing streak, and will they end the Braves winning streak? Very tough task, but let us know on our Instagram at TheWinnerCircle22. I don't know if I'm going to say I'm looking forward to this. I'm kind of dreading it, but at the same time, I feel like I'm going to reverse psychology myself and like be super down in this series because, one's cold and one's hot. But you never know. It could be the perfect opportunity for the Cubs to kind of break out of a funk and say, hey, Atlanta, we know you won the World Series last year. We know you're hot. But right now, we're just going to get one of these wins out of the way. I don't even care if the Cubs lose 2 out of 3. Just get one from Atlanta because I don't really see them winning the series against the Padres. They might have a chance tonight, but even if they don't, I want to see at least one win against the Braves. I don't know what you think, TC.
Yeah, I'm seeing somebody named Sarah Sin on Instagram is already saying that she thinks that the Cubs are going to be able to pull off a win.
Oh.
So hopefully they're able to pull off a victory. I really do think it's possible. I mean, the Cubs have one of those teams where they're kind of a flash in the pan sometimes. Hopefully a little bit of a flash comes before all the fire burns out.
Yeah, it'll be extremely interesting. We got the Cubs-Padres game tonight, which, again, that pitching matchup is going to feature Ryan Weathers against Caleb Killian for Chicago. I actually thought it was a 3-game series. There is another game tomorrow at Wrigley Field at 1:20, so if you're off of work, have some downtime, maybe hop on to Wrigley Field to see the 23-38 Cubs play. That's going to be an interesting matchup. Undefeated Joe Musgrove 7-0 with a 1.50 ERA, takes on Matt Swarmer, who I believe is in his 4th career start. So we'll see if the Cubs can potentially squeak one out against the Padres, or more importantly, play the hottest team in baseball right now, which is the Atlanta Braves. Again, hit us up on our Instagram for that question. Coming up, we are going to the South Side. The White Sox had a great game today, a great series against the Tigers, but will that bode well for their future matchups later this month? We'll talk about that next.
This is your home for sports. SportsTownChicago.com.
Joe's Hot Dogs has been around since 1953, but I promise it's not old news. You don't have to like hot dogs to like Joe's on Plainfield Road in Joliet. Italian beef, hot dogs, shakes, and sides. My family's had a relationship with Joe's Hot Dogs for 3 generations. Golden fries with a tad bit of salt and the perfect amount of crunch come in a bag as big as your hand. And that's just small. For more on the menu, visit joeshotdogsjoliet.com, bringing that classic Chicago flavor to the suburbs. That's Joe's Hot Dogs across from CVS on Plainfield Road in Joliet.
At the football game, Jim shows the telltale signs of being wasted. He starts flexing for the camera. He refers to his muscles as gunboats. He screams, "How's this for a halftime show?" Jim streaks the field.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many to drive. But what if you've had just one too many to drive? Never underestimate just a few. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and Windy City News Radio.
The Illinois Center for Broadcasting is now the Illinois Media School. We've been an institution in the Chicagoland area now for 30 years. Because the broadcasting world is always changing, so are we. Not only are we teaching radio and television production, but now you can learn all aspects of the media industry, like web design. You can even specialize in TV or film, sports broadcasting, and even sales. No matter where you are in the Chicagoland area, we have a campus near you. The Illinois Media School. Be on TV, be on radio, beonair.com.
Maybe that was money. Tell me that wasn't money.
Yo, check us out. We are the go-to guys. I'm your boy Space.
I'm your boy MC.
Check us out every Thursday
from 4 to 5 p.m.
We spitting all facts, all sports, all day.
Yes, sir. Who else you gonna go to in the clutch?
Lillard, long-range three, and it's good!
Keeping you up to date with all the latest sports news.
We are
the go-to guys.
Where else you gonna get all your sports news from?
You know.
SportsTownChicago.com.
Sheets, deep right field. Everybody go home.
You're listening to SportsTownChicago.com, home of the Winner's Circle.
Anderson hits it in the air to right. Back at the wall, and the White Sox win it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Winner's Circle. If you missed our first segment, I went on this pretty epic rant about how bad the Cubs are being, but all you Cubs fans will probably agree with me. Now let's go to something more positive. We're talking about the other side of Chicago baseball, the White Sox, who, yeah, it's been a pretty rough week or so for them as well, but it looks like they're finally starting to turn some momentum in the right direction. I mean, TC and I could not have foreseen a 13-0 victory today against the Detroit Tigers. And to cap that off, they won the first 2 games of the series. That make it a clean sweep. And now they are back to just still 1 game under 500. Overall, not great, but some momentum heading in their direction. They really, though, need to turn it on for this weekend series where it's a 3-game set against the Houston Astros, which is going to be tough. But I like their chances at winning at least a game or 2 simply due to the fact that they handled Detroit today.
Oh, yeah, they had an absolute stomping. The one thing that I'm concerned about is Dylan Cease wrapping it up in Detroit. I mean, obviously the guy dominates out there. He's 10-1, and I believe 12 or 11 starts, something like that. So you can't really knock him for that, or, But
he's the Tiger King.
I've
seen the memes out there.
He really is. But,
he owns the Tigers.
But it would have been nice to have one of the more elite, I guess you could call him, of the White Sox pitching going out there and being able to take on one of the tougher teams out there in the AL.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like, though, in this AL Central, a lot of people are still giving the White Sox a chance, even though they're 60 games in and they're still one game under 500. A lot of people are giving them that chance because they're not trusting the Twins to keep that lead. And simply, we've talked about this a lot, this team, they're simply just too talented to let it fold over. And I think a lot of that question is now starting to be put on Tony La Russa's shoulders with that whole incident with Trey Turner, Max Muncy, the whole weekend incident too. I mean, when are we going to finally start cutting the excuses out for Tony La Russa? Because yeah, he hasn't been around for like 10 years before he took this job, but he's still a Hall of Fame manager. He's still won multiple World Series rings. He's supposed to be the most experienced guy out there. When you're leading the team, you are supposed to be the one with all the knowledge, all of the go-to stuff for that matter. When are we going to stop blaming him? Because they did it last year. There were plenty of injuries that could have stopped them, that could have brought them down, but they still won 93 games. They still won the division. This year, I feel like it's pretty much the same. Maybe a little bit more with the injuries, but I feel like we're starting to get a real glimpse of Tony La Russa kind of not being fully with it, if you will. Maybe a few times we'll let it slip last year, but this year I think we have to stop just giving him a free pass because this is his second year on the job now. It's his second stint, too, with the White Sox.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the bigger thing is beyond just Tony La Russa, it's also the White Sox franchise itself, because Michael Kopech went down the other day with an injury due to his own mound at guaranteed rate field.
Wait, that's what it was?
Yes, the way that he landed it within his own mound, whether unable to or over twisting due to the clay, or like basically the mixture of what was going on, or the texture of it. You know, that's just something that can't happen. It wasn't like he hit the ground weird. It was he got caught either on or going into the ground. And I'm not trying to brag on them specifically, but it just kind of goes to show the disorder within the franchise, how it might not just be a Tony La Russa issue. Maybe it could be it seems like it's a thing with the whole franchise. I mean, Michael Kopech went from being an elite pitcher to, we're going to deal him to minors and someone might pick him up kind of thing.
I will say the batting lineup has gotten better, but these pitching injuries it's just bad luck straight up. Like, you have Lance Lynn come back for his first start, but then it's like switching one out. It's like a soul for a soul. You get Lance Lynn, but like TC said, you lose Michael Kopech. And the Michael Kopech loss is really, really not ideal considering his last start was pretty solid.
Yeah, that's true. And to Lance Lynn coming back in that start, he ended up getting upset at the third base coach
over a steak debate. That's what it was.
No,
a steak debate.
That's him being him. He's just one of those guys who gives funny interviews. But what it was really about was what ended up happening in that inning. He ended up giving up a run and a few hits, and he seemed to react to each one of the hits. 3 soft hit balls that just, one might have been a hit regardless of situation. One was a newer hitter. It was the first hit to start the inning, or to start this little rally, I should say. And, hasn't played much in the league, but Sox decided to put on a specific shift for this hitter. But he hits a ball, if it's a normal shift, just squared up in normal infield, probably would have been the first out of the inning or whatever that out would have been. I'm not 100% sure, but it seemed like Lance Lynn was getting upset at that. Then there was another soft hit ball slightly to the third base side of second base. And, I think it would have been a single in most cases. Anyway, I don't think they were shifted weird really. But at the end of the day, Lance Lynn seemed upset. third base coach said, I thought he was getting upset at, the players and the coaches and all that. And Lance Lynn was like, no, I'm just upset that I gave up these hits and these runs. I wasn't hitting my spots, blah, blah, blah. But he told everybody, steak dinner.
All right, well, at least I got that. Because I was going to say, if that's really what it was, embarrassing, first of all. Back to Tony La Russa, though, because did you hear about that weekend instance where I believe it might have been the Texas series, Fire Tony chants broke out at Guaranteed Rate Field? Not a good sign, and knowing the Sox history, just like the Bears, the McCaskies don't fire coaches in season, neither does Jerry Reinsdorf. So no matter what the fans think, I feel like this year Tony La Russa is going to stick around. And coming from a non-Sox fan, but me personally, I feel like the best decision, I really do think you should fire Tony La Russa, because going off of what the Phillies, solely the Phillies and what the Angels did, they fired 2 veteran managers who have won World Series, a ton of experience, but they were in a bad spot. The Phillies were 22-29 when they fired Joe Girardi. They got a 9-game win streak, back to 500, right about there now. Angels went on a 12-game losing streak, fired Joe Madden. I believe it's Phil Nevin is the manager. Not totally back to what they were, which they were at least 10 games over. Massive disappointment. But I think that's what we're starting to see, is these older managers are starting to be a little bit out of tune with the current game. There's been so many changes that have been going on where they're struggling to keep up. And both of those guys are younger than Tony La Russa. Like Joe Madden, I think, barely hit 70. I don't think Joe Girardi's past 55, but all that experience with the Yankees and whatnot, obviously very highly regarded. But I just feel like it's in the best interest of the team. Get a new voice in there that can relate to the players a little more, isn't really old school, because old school is kind of thrown out the window. You need someone fresh to kind of get you off of this slump, off of these low expectations. Get back to the White Sox of this year, not the White Sox of the past.
Well, I think the expectation's already there for the White Sox. I think it's a little tone deaf of organizations when they refuse to fire managers or, high-level, members within the organization during a season. I understand, like, the, antics or, however you want to say it, the perception of that. But, you got to also look at the perception that the fans have of you as a franchise. And I don't think, personally, as a fan, it's nice to have a guy that we know is going to be gone at the end of the season, who might not be, who's probably going to be, coaching like he's at the end of his season, like he's not going to be coming back. So why would anybody want that? Cut him loose and let's move on. But speaking of perception, I think Tony La Russa might be part of the problem, but I think the Chicago...
You don't think he's the biggest problem?
No, I think the Chicago pitching is the biggest problem.
You think the pitching is the biggest problem?
Yeah,
okay.
Because statistically, they look really good. And we talk all the time about all the talent, all the potential. We list off these statistics, this, that, and the other thing. But at the same time, Chicago's just never able to get it done. They'll pitch a good game, but they needed to pitch a great game. They'll give up 5 runs, but the hitting will only get 3. They'll go in, they'll pitch a good game, they'll give up a run, 2 runs, but the hitting never picked them up. They're never able to get to that dominance factor that you need from pitching. And the starting rotation, as great as their numbers are, as fantastic as they look on paper, they have too many bad losses and high run games that they're really kind of this gilded perception of being an elite group. But I don't really think they are. They're a good group. They could be elite, but we haven't seen that so far this season.
Do you think that it's more so the starters or the bullpen that's the issue? Because I think it's the bullpen.
Well, I
don't think the starters are totally not guilty either, but I think it's more so the bullpen.
I think it really depends, because there's certain instances where it's obviously the bullpen, but, just for the beginning of the season, I know he's gone now, but Dallas Keuchel.
Oh, that was a great move.
Terrible.
Have them Diamondbacks.
Yeah, exactly. And then even Giolito had a few bad games. Dylan Cease, you're allowed to have one bad game, but he had a bad game too, and they're really bad games. They're not like 4 or 5 run outings. They're 8 run outings. They're a lot of runs, and but you don't see the opposite. You don't see the ultimate domination of no runs over 6 innings. It's, no runs over 4 innings, which is impressive. Don't get me wrong. But still, it's not that elite level.
For sure, the inconsistencies are absolutely there. Well, coming up in our second half of the show, we are going to talk all things NBA Finals. Game 6 will happen tomorrow night at TD Garden. Will the Warriors end with a 4th championship in the last 6 years, or will the Celtics force a Game 7?
Back to your home for sports. SportsTownChicago.com. Scoreboard update.
I'm TC with your Sportstown Chicago update. The White Sox capped off a sweep on the road as they beat the Tigers 13-0 earlier today. With every starter getting at least 1 hit, Yoan Moncada stood out with 5 hits and 5 RBIs, where he got the party started in the first inning with a 3-run home run. The pitching held up as well, with Vince Velasquez, Davis Martin, and Jose Ruiz giving up 4 total hits. The Sox outscored the Tigers 27-6 across their 3-game sweep, which they now turn to focus on their upcoming weekend series against the Astros. There's been nothing to smile about for the Cubs as they currently ride an 8-game losing streak headed into another matchup tonight against the Padres. They look to finally get on the board in the series and look to snap their massive skid. Caleb Killian will make his second career start for the Cubs as he prepares to face the lefty Ryan Weathers for the Padres. All eyes are on if the Cubs are able to win their first game since June 4th, where the opening pitch starts at 7:05 p.m. on Marquee Sports Network. The Steelers have made Manica Fitzpatrick the NFL's new highest-paid safety, with a new deal confirmed today by ESPN's Adam Schefter. Fitzpatrick's new deal will be for 4 years, where he'll make over $18.4 million annually. For new GM Omar Khan, it's the first of many moves since he took over at GM last month. Fitzpatrick now becomes the second player on the Steelers to make the most money at his respective position, joining edge rusher TJ Watt. He also surpasses Jamal Adams at $17.5 million a year deal in the process. The Stanley Cup Finals starts tonight, where Tampa Bay Lightning visit the Colorado Avalanche. A lot is on the line for Game 1, where that Lightning get center Braden Point back after missing the previous 2 series, and the Avalanche goalie Darcy Kemp is ready to go. For 21 years, the Stanley Cup the Avalanche have appeared in the Stanley Cup for the first time in 21 years. The Game 1 starts tonight at 7 p.m. on ABC Sports or ESPN+. This has been your Sportstown Chicago update. I'm TC.
This is your home for sports. Red left. SportsTownChicago.com.
Take that exit and get to the Southern Cafe, home of the Nasty Biscuit on Roselle Road in Roselle. Get over there and try the chicken fried chicken biscuit made with the Southern Cafe's house-made drop biscuit with buttermilk chicken fried chicken smothered in country gravy, topped with shredded cheddar and crumbled hickory smoked bacon. I always say that when you go to the Southern Cafe, you come out with 2 meals with the heaping amounts of food they serve you in every meal. I love to go to a place with outdoor seating. The Southern Cafe has a great outdoor seating area to help social distance, and I get to enjoy my breakfast outdoors. Open 6:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. to give you plenty of time to grab an amazing breakfast or lunch. Now get your butt over to the Southern Cafe on Roselle Road.
Hello?
It's speed walking day.
Dorothy? You're breaking up.
Did I mention we'd be slowing down when we pass the court where those fine brothers play ball?
I heard that. Reduce your risk of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. Get active, eat right, and maybe even run into Mr. Right. Isn't sisterhood beautiful? For more information, go to everydaychoices.org. Brought to you by the American Cancer Society, the American Diabetes Association, the American Heart Association, the Ad Council, and this station.
Alert! Alert! Be gone, maxed out credit cards, overdue loans, suffocating interest rates, and relentless collection agencies. If your credit rating is making you and others around you cringe, there's only one thing to do, and that's to turn to the professionals at Creative Credit Solutions. Even if your credit is less than perfect, we'll help you get back on track. You can do it, and we can help. Call today or visit creativecreditsolutions.net for your free credit check report.
Blow the whistle on SportsTownChicago.com. Mondays and Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m. as we talk NFL.
The game plan was really sound.
It's a quarterback league. It has been. It still is.
Franchise-defining quarterbacks.
College football.
Will Jim Harbaugh make it through the season as Michigan's head coach?
Some more Big Ten talk.
And here's some things you wouldn't expect.
I would have never expected that.
Get all of that and more on Blow the Whistle on SportsTownChicago.com.
You're listening to SportsTownChicago.com, home of the Winner's Circle.
Porter from downtown. Wow! Celtics raining three-pointers. And here come Boston. Thompson, what a response. Pulls the three.
And welcome back into the second half of the Winner Circle. Thank you guys so much again for listening on either SportsTownChicago.com or the TuneIn radio app, or wherever you get to see us live stream, maybe on our YouTube, or if you see our posts on our Instagram, you'll know what we talked about today. So thank you guys so much for all the support. As usual, we are talking all things NBA Finals. Game 6 is just around the horizon tomorrow night. Game 5, I have to say, was a little bit of a surprise because it was the first time this entire playoffs that the Boston Celtics followed up a loss with another loss. Back-to-back losses for the first time this entire playoffs for the Celtics. And I want to ask you guys this question right out of the gate. With Game 6 looming tomorrow at the TD Garden, will the Warriors win their 4th title in the past 6 or 7 seasons, or will the Celtics force a Game 7? Let us know on our Instagram at TheWinnerCircle22. We want to know what you guys think about the NBA Finals, which are coming to a close. It's going to be weird with no basketball again. I'm going to come out right and say it. I'm now officially wrong about my finals prediction. I said Celtics in 6, so I'll change that, TC, to Celtics in 7. I honestly do not see Boston losing on their home floor. I was quite surprised that they dropped Game 4 in the way they did, where they just flat out played terrible in the fourth quarter, and then Game 3, they had that good third quarter comeback and just completely flopped in the fourth quarter in Game 5. But I don't see the Celtics dropping 2 of 3 at TD Garden. I think they are going to force a Game 7, and for the first time since the 2016 Finals, we're going to have a win or go home for the NBA championship. What do you think is going to happen, TC?
You know, this is really tough for me to say. Honestly, you guys, you already know how I feel about the Boston Celtics. All right, they're my boys in terms of the NBA. I mean, the Bulls are obviously my team, but the Celtics are my boys. Okay,
they're your boys.
They're my boys. But Jason Tatum, that man is defeated.
Did you watch the fourth quarter in Game 5?
Yes, I did.
He played one of the worst quarters I've seen anyone play.
He played a terrible game. I mean, he's supposed to be the elite go-to guy, shutdown guy, and I'm not trying to say he needs to be Mr. Perfect, but what sums up my point perfectly is he was 2 for 6 at the free throw line in Game 5. Now, 4 points isn't going to make the difference. 4 points isn't anything to be screaming or yelling about, okay? But 4 missed free throws he's supposed to be that guy that will make all 6 because he's clutch like that, okay? Especially since he, has been a little bit off the past few games. It hasn't just been Game 5. The second half of Game 4, or Game 3 was pretty rough. Game 4 was pretty rough overall, and people are already starting to question him. Game 5 proves the doubters right. And unfortunately, it looks like the leader of the Celtics is out. So that means the Celtics are out.
Yeah, they cannot afford for him to play like that again and win. They got away with it in Game 1, but that's only because someone else stepped up enough to where they were able to find a way and win. And now that I think about it, Game 1 and Game 5 are kind of similar in the terms of Game 1, we saw the Celtics win, had that dramatic fourth quarter swing where they were down by 12. They won by 12. Their star, Jason Tatum, played a terrible game, like 12 points, just not effective at all. Game 5, even though the Warriors were winning after 3, technically with a game-changing buzzer beater by Jordan Poole after 3 to take the lead, I still felt like the momentum was more so on the Celtics side after getting outplayed in the first half. But what was the biggest takeaway from Game 5? Stephen Curry did not have a good game. Like, he has been the undisputed best player on the court for both teams this entire series, and he put up, I think it was
16 points.
I actually am surprised it was that much, but the biggest stat, 233 straight games, regular and postseason, of not making a three ended in Game 5. 0 for 9 from three-point range. And the guy who stepped up, again, he's played well this entire playoffs, but I don't think anybody saw Andrew Wiggins being the best player on the Warriors. Klay Thompson's been hit or miss, but Wiggins has been pretty consistent. And sure enough, when Steph Curry had an off night, he amped up his game and showed why he was the number one pick. I believe it was in the 2014 NBA draft. But again, Game 1 and Game 5, very similar to where the teams win, but their respective star on either side don't play well. But for Boston, Jason Tatum cannot play like that again, and they expect to win. I swear, I think I saw at least 3 or 4 straight up air balls by him in the fourth quarter. And they were open looks.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the other thing to talk about is something that I mentioned at the end of Game 3, I think it was, maybe Game 2, but I mentioned Al Horford and him going down the stretch, him being effective in terms of offensively going forward. Game 5, almost non-existent. Game 4, barely there. Game 3 was his last, hey, I was here. I did something. I think he put up 9 points or so, but he hasn't really been 8 points, I think it was, but he hasn't truly been effective since Game 1. And that's because he was carrying that workload of trying to work Curry. Finally, they just went man on him, had one guy try to stick with him like rubber on glue in Game 5, worked, shut Curry down, but it seemed like they were overplaying that hand of trying to take Steph Curry out of the equation, because he wasn't just a non-factor, he was irrelevant. I mean, for the amount of shots that he took, that he got 16 points, pretty amazing.
Yeah, he was 7 of 22 total from the field, 0 for 9 from 3, so 7 of 13, over 50% from 2, which is, again, pretty good. But overall, the 3 points are, again, Andrew Wiggins didn't even make a 3 either. The Warriors were 9 of 40 from 3. The Celtics were 11 of 32. This might be the first time that we've seen a team shoot better from 3 and lose. Like Game 5, Boston started 0 of 13 from 3. Then they made their next 7. Golden State wasn't much better, but this is crazy that it seems like the trend is broken where both the Celtics and the Warriors, whoever does not shoot better from 3, actually won. And the first time this playoffs that either one of these two teams have lost back-to-back games.
Well, there's a reason for that in terms of why they're being able to score in the paint and why they have a higher field goal percentage.
You talking about Boston or Golden State?
Or Golden State.
Golden State.
Because especially in their wins, if you look at their wins, the two key metrics that I like to bring up is their points in the paint and the turnovers. Boston in this past game, 18 turnovers against Boston, only 6 against Golden State.
Wow.
And that's really the difference, because it's these fast break points that they're able to get.
They catch them off guard.
They catch them off guard. Then, when they're on offense, because they're overplaying Steph Curry in this past Game 5, it leaves a lot more open lanes to the middle of the court.
Drive up to the basket.
Exactly, because they're trying to make it clear for I think it was White that was trailing Curry most of the game. Might have been Brown. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it was White. Who was just trailing Curry the whole game, trying to stick on him like rubber on glue. Or I guess that doesn't really make sense. I never understood that expression. But,
regardless.
Like a mosquito on you
a moth
trying
to flame.
Watch the game.
A moth to a flame.
Exactly, moth to a flame. But it's just ridiculous. I mean, they overplay their hand on defense every time. It seems like when they're trying to solve for one thing, they seek to eliminate it entirely, almost not realizing that another move is possible.
Yeah, and I think another huge factor of why the Celtics did not win Game 5 despite shooting better from 3, halftime they had 1 bench point. 1. Do you want to know how much they finished with? 10. 10 total bench points. Yeah. 3 players had 3 points, and 1 player had 1 point, which has been Derek White, who's been pretty good in the finals, honestly. Boston cannot afford that to happen again if they want to win Game 5. With that being said, though, I don't know if you officially answer me. Did you pick the Celtics to win Game 6?
Oh,
or are you thinking the Warriors are...
Absolutely.
Okay, Game 7 for both of us.
I mean, well, I did. At this point, I think
You're sticking with it.
I am, but it's more like I went from being 70% certain when I was expecting Game 6 to be their final game of the series. At this point, it was like 75% before, 70% before maybe. Now it's like 55% now. Versus it's 55-45 versus, 70-30, I would say. Just because, I just don't see the fire in Boston anymore. There is no electricity to their play at any point, especially when they got the lead. I think it was early in the third quarter. They didn't hold on to it for long. And the second that Golden State went up, they went up big again, and Boston tried to climb their way back, and it didn't work.
Yeah, well, we are going to see Game 6 tomorrow night if the Warriors can close it out or the Celtics will force a Game 7. We both know what we want to see. Tell us again what you want to see on our Instagram. Coming up, though, we are talking back to the baseball diamond. There has not been a perfect game in the MLB in almost 10 years. Will we ever see a perfect game again? You don't want to miss what we have to say about that.
This is your home for sports.
Longtime fan.
Sports is like life. SportsTownChicago.com.
What's up, Chicago? If you're ever, and I mean ever, out looking for good urban food 24/7, come down to White Palace Grill, located 1159 South Canal Street in Chicago. White Palace Grill is open 365 days a year since 1939. I personally love the steak and egg dinner, but whether you like burgers for breakfast, steak for lunch, or French toast for dinner, White Palace is the place for you. The diner is a 24-hour urban oasis. Come now, come later. Heck, come now and later. We never close at White Palace Grill, located 1159 South Canal Street in Chicago. Visit us at whitepalace.com or order with Uber Eats or Grubhub anytime, any day.
Daddy, when you look at me, I could see your wheels turning. About what am I going to be when I grow up? A Major League First baseman? Maybe a point guard for a national champion.
The odds of a child becoming a professional athlete are 1 in 16,000. Far-fetched? Maybe. But did you know the odds of a child being diagnosed with autism are 1 in 166? That's right, 1 in 166. To learn the signs of autism, go to autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Go to Lux Barbershop for the best barbers and stylists in Plainfield, Illinois. I go there when I have an important event, date, or I just want to look good. The straight razor shave will have you looking fresh and smooth. Lux Barbershop is open 7 days a week. Go to Lux Barbershop for the finest barbers, stylists, braiders, and massage therapists in the southern suburbs. Check out all their daily deals on Facebook, Instagram, and luxbarbershop.com.
Hi, this is Joe Perry and Steven Tyler of Aerosmith for Red. You know, it's okay to rock and roll and party down. Just don't get in that 2,000-pound bullet when you're done and cocked. And please don't drink and drive. I'm the one that jaded you.
A reminder that friends don't let friends drive drunk. A public service message brought to you by the Ad Council, U.S. Department of Transportation, National Association of Broadcasters, and RAD.
The Chicago Dogs are back on SportsTownChicago.com. Tune in to the season opener against the Sioux City Explorers, Friday, May 28th at Impact Field in Rosemont. First pitch at 7:05 p.m. Hear all the action right here on SportsTownChicago.com.
3-2, runner goes. It's drilled. Walk it off. Anderson hits it in the air right. Back at the wall. The White Sox win it.
You're listening to The Winner's Circle on SportsTownChicago.com.
Slide to right center field. Diving play. A walk-off
catch. Welcome back to our last segment here on The Winner's Circle on SportsTownChicago.com or the TuneIn Radio app. And this is an interesting segment that got me thinking, got my brain power working last night. In case anybody didn't see, Miles Mikolas of the St. Louis Cardinals was 1 strike away from the Cardinals' first no-hitter in 21 years last night, and he didn't get it done. Ground rule double ended that, and Mikolas was unfortunately done, left his head hanging after a good day. resulted in not getting the end result he wanted. But that got me thinking, even though that was for a no-hitter, we haven't seen a perfect game in the MLB since 2012 when 3 players accomplished that feat. If a pitcher does all that work in today's game of baseball to come up that short of a no-hitter, I feel like a perfect game is a long time away, because there have only been 23 perfect games in the history of Major League Baseball. And with the way the game is shaping up right now, I don't know if we'll ever see that again, TC.
Yeah, honestly, just statistically, with the amount of games that have happened in baseball and the amount of perfect games that have been played, there is a 1 in 20,000 chance that it happens. That number shrinks every year that a perfect game is not achieved, because every year it seems that the amount of innings pitched, a player is dropped for starting pitchers. So, if you guys don't know, back in the 1870s, way back in the day, pitchers used to throw the whole game, the whole time. And it wasn't
all 9 innings.
It wasn't until the 20s, 40s that relief pitching was even like a thing. Like they would occasionally relieve each other, but it wasn't until like the 60s, 70s that relief pitching really started to kind of grab its foothold. And today we see pitchers pitching the least amount in the beginning, and I think it was 4.97. Yes, 4.97 innings on average for starters.
Yeah, and it's crazy, and a lot of things do play into that. The fact that they're, like we were talking about earlier in our episode, of it seems like there's an expectation to get your starter out early to get the bullpen in, but it's just a lot of players, they take pitch count pretty seriously. They want to rest up their arm for like 5-6 days rest so they can maybe go a little farther or do the same thing. Well, last night in 8.2 innings of work, Miles Michaelis, when he gave up his first hit, was at 129 pitches. That's got to be the most I've seen in a long time. And again, this is for a no-hitter, not a perfect game, which again, very few of those no-hitters. We've seen a lot of those in recent years. But I just feel like, again, the game is changing to where it's going to be crazy if we ever do see one, because when have we seen a guy go like a complete game? Like we were talking about Kyle Hendricks earlier, 8.2 innings and 3 hits. He was 1 out away, and was only giving up 3 hits, and David Ross pulled them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think the interesting thing is how unlikely it is at this point for a pitcher to go the distance. I mean, especially, you're saying 10 years ago was the last perfect game. And just the domination of pitchers back then. I just remember the White Sox had Chris Sale, and he was just one of the most elite pitchers. Ended up getting traded to Boston. But that era, there was just so many pitchers that were dealing. And then, like you said, 3 no-hitters in 2012, or 3 perfect games in 2012. I was sitting there, a lot of people were sitting there saying, is this going to be the start of a new era of like dominance in pitching, where you see all these perfect games and, people stop hitting the ball essentially. And obviously that didn't happen, but at the same time, you are more likely to get struck by lightning in your lifetime, 1 in 10,000 chance, than you are to see a perfect game again.
Oh, wow.
And the fact of the matter is, especially at this point, with not only just, pitch count, just think of the strain on the body that pitching is now, because now we're engineering our bodies to get the absolute most that you could get out of it. Before, it was like, I woke up like this one day and I threw 86 miles an hour and nobody could hit me. Today, that guy that threw 86 would be doing everything possible to throw 96.
And in a game today, baseball's a very mental sport as well. Going back out there, inning after inning, keeping that same composure. Okay, how can I get the next 3 up, 3 down? It's crazy the amount of back and forth, and it's not like right away too. They have to take some time, regroup. Everybody sits in the front of the dugout, lets the pitcher kind of relax and debrief. So it's a very, very tough task. My personal opinion is I do think there will be a perfect game again. When? I have no idea. But the last, or I should say, not the most recent two, the White Sox won in 2012, Philip Humber. I feel like most of those really, really good games, it's from a pitcher you don't really expect. Like the other two were Matt Cain on the Giants, good pitcher back then. Felix Hernandez for the Mariners, good pitcher back in 2012. Can't believe I'm saying that was 10 years ago. But it's pitchers that you don't really expect. You don't expect guys to just throw a gem like that in a game. It's going to be someone wild. It's going to be someone we don't expect. But I feel like it is going to happen. It's going to be one of those like moment of the decade thing where a guy just goes off. I think, though, there will be a perfect game. What do you guys think? And you need to let us know on our Instagram at TheWinnerCircle22. Will there ever be a perfect game in the MLB again? Whether it's this year, whether it's 10 years from now, 20 years from now, let us know because we want to know what you guys think. Did you give me an official answer? And if you think there'll be another perfect game again, TC?
Honestly, anything's possible, but I think the probability of it is very low. But it seems that Chuck Berry's on Instagram says that he thinks there will definitely be multiple perfect games to come.
I like that answer.
So I guess he agrees with you. Do you agree multiple, not just one, but multiple?
Too hard to say. I mean, again, you don't know what the future holds. Like, again, there were only 20 of them going into 2012, and then boom, Philip Humber, boom, Matt Cain, boom, Felix Hernandez. Like, you never know. Again, it just depends on the day. Who's going to be untouchable, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, especially today. Like, it seems like there's a lot of pitchers that have a lot of good stuff. Like, Dylan Cease, I mean, he's one of those guys that gets a lot of strikeouts, just untouchable.
A ton
at
of
times.
strikeouts.
Yeah, like I think he had 7 in 4 innings or something like that yesterday. So, I mean, he's a little bit more of a known guy, but, you know, a guy with his level of strikeout ability in like his rookie sophomore year, that's going to be when that's going to happen. It's going to be a guy that doesn't have a lot of scouting on him because once you know a player, especially today, I think that's the biggest thing is it's not just, you know, the pitcher, you know, wearing out, doing this, blah, blah, blah. It's, you know, these players having tablets, having the mental or having the preparedness before to like check out the scouting, do all that kind of stuff. So they know what kind of pitches they're looking for, where they're going to be swinging, blah, blah, blah. So maybe that's the biggest thing of it. So maybe that's another part of it is pitchers, you know, they have like almost a routine that they go through. Maybe they need to be able to switch up these sequences, be able to give all these batters a truly unique experience in the box. Because I feel like that's the biggest thing. Everyone talks about, you know, oh, you go through the lineup, you know exactly what you're going to get. Well, why do you? It's because the pitcher's not giving any variation. And if the pitcher were to give that variation, if he were to throw, you know, an 87-mile-an-hour slider with a 68-mile-an-hour slider or whatever, just stuff to kind of throw you off, that's going to go a lot more than just, oh, you know, I throw fastballs high and in, and then I hit you with a slider. You know, like those two-pitch pitchers honestly annoy me. And I think Mark Burley, who threw a perfect game, by the way, emphasizes my point beautifully, could not break glass with his fastball, but one of the deadliest pitchers of the early 2000s, just phenomenal pinpoint accuracy with a multitude of weapons.
For sure, and if that ever does happen again, we don't know when it's going to be, where it's going to be. Hell, it could even be this year. We have no idea, but think of that again for just, you know, for second thought. 129 pitches for a no-hitter. This is not even allowing a walk, too. You got to get these guys out fast, quick, too, so your pitch count does not go up. And it's just a huge challenge. Testament to these 23 players who have done that in all time. So great accomplishment, though. That is going to do it for our show, though, today, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We are streaming our show here on YouTube. We'll have that up for you guys very soon. For everyone on Sportstown Chicago and the TuneIn Radio app, and for everyone who comments on our Instagram, thank you so much for listening and pitching in your 2 cents. We appreciate it greatly. TC, any closing thoughts?
Oh, yeah, just glad to be here. Going to go rest up right after this. See y'all next week.
Absolutely. Have a great one, guys.
This is your home for sports.
It's the best fans in the world.
No better team. SportstownChicago.com.
Are you ready for this? Valley View Automotive has all of the hottest SUVs you've been looking for. Enjoy a test drive and the opportunity to drive one of these powerful vehicles off the lot for half the price. Yes, half the price. Now's the time to get yourself to Valley View by car, on foot, or even by air to take advantage of this outrageous sale. You better get here quickly, because this promotion is only going on for 24 hours, and the automobiles are leaving the lot faster than you can say four-wheel drive. Valley View Automotive, a dealership you can depend on.
Hey, I'm Andy Griggs, asking you to help prevent domestic violence. Domestic violence isn't a woman's issue. It hurts all of us. Women are injured and killed every day by their husbands and boyfriends. So it's time for men to take action right now to teach boys that violence against women is wrong, to help prevent abuse before it starts. Call the Family Violence Prevention Fund at 1-800-END-ABUSE to get a free Take Action kit containing tips on what to say to boys. That's 1-800-END-ABUSE. Teach early.
Indeed is the #1 job search user with over 250 million monthly users. Indeed's priority is to help everyone in the job searching process to find a job by uploading 10 new job opportunities every 10 seconds worldwide. With Indeed, you have free access to job searches, resume uploads, and company researches. There are over 10,000 employees at Indeed that pursue to help people find the job they are looking for. They connect with millions of people to new opportunities. Go to Indeed.com and sign up for free and create a resume and let Indeed do the rest to help you on your job search.
Hey, I'm Jesus Mauricio. Be sure to tune in every Friday to listen to Zeus Off the Bat, a baseball talk show from 1 to 2 p.m. where I'll be discussing and updating you on all things about baseball. News, predictions, reactions, and more about the Cubs, Sox, and everything across the league. Happens every Friday at 1 p.m. right here on SportsTownChicago.com. Don't forget to follow and share our Twitter and Instagram with your friends at Zeus Off the Bat. Zeus Off the Bat!